of, well, the very final race weekend of the Herd Beginners Racing Series. Tonight we will have 8 laps of Downtown Dolphin in Crit City, and these are all very short 1.9 kilometre laps. The total will be 15.2 kilometres, and we've only got 64 metres of climbing, and we'll have a very, very short climb each lap. And tonight I am following Kim Johnson, who races for the Flamingos. But I'm going to turn over to our resident expert who happened to race this race earlier tonight. Becca, how are you expecting this to go?
I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be fast and furious, and it's all going to be over in a matter of like 20 minutes, of which no one will ever remember any of it because it was just pain from start to finish. So, yeah, it's going to be fun tonight.
It's going to be fun for us, but maybe not for the people we're watching. Steve, who are you watching?
Well, I'm still disappointed that you said the words resident expert and didn't immediately throw to me, James, but I'm following Josh Carroll off of the United States, who, let's hope he goes for a good ride. Newbie rider for us. Let's see how he does. And it's away, and let's Escar go, as you like to say, James.
We are not in France tonight. We are in Le Crit City. Becca, I don't think we found out who you're watching tonight as we head out through the start line.
Yeah, so I'm watching Carrie Bartlett tonight. She's just been upgraded to B, which she seems very excited about. And so, yeah, she started off with a massive sprint, so hopefully she'll carry on that way.
Kim has settled into a group of, I'd say, probably 10 or so. And we're in around about 65th place out of 104 races tonight. Steve, whereabouts is Josh?
Josh is in 35th, 36th at the moment. He's in the kind of tail end of the long stream of riders. I think he's. It looks like the elastic might snap. But there's some good companies up there with Lisa, up there with Dennis, up there with someone called Aldrich from the Huskies, who I don't know, but lots of people resplendent in her jerseys. I am going to take Josh to task very early on, though, for his bike choice. He appears to be on a blue Tron, and unless you're from the lost city of Atlantis, I can't see any reason why a blue Tron would have a national benefit. But there we go. We live and learn.
Becca, how's Carrie doing?
Yeah, she's still in the front group. No one is doing 12 watts a kilo off the front, but, you know, we all learn. She's also not on a Tron, but I don't know whether this is... She's not on a pink Tron, she's not on any Tron. I don't know whether this is because she doesn't yet have a Tron. I don't actually know how long she's been riding because I'm woefully underprepared for tonight's commentary stream.
It sounds like you're as prepared as we ever are for these, Becca. This chat very quickly about tonight's course. It's a rinse and repeat course, isn't it? Very short 2-kilometre lap of Crit City. That was the bit that will be challenging, wasn't it? We've just gone through most of the riders that Cobble Climb. That's where all the moves are going to come, aren't they, Becca? I'd have thought.
Yeah, on ours definitely, although not quite as much as I would have hoped. Carrie, unfortunately, has just got dropped from the front group going up that climb. She's with a couple of other people, Torres from the Herd, a guy from ATP. And yeah, I think your rider might be just behind as well. So they've got a little group, but the front group is looking like it's 25, 26-ish strong and has disappeared into the distance.
I think one of the interesting things about this course is you've got a lot of right angle turns, and they definitely play havoc with the draft. So if you're last rider on in the pack going into one of those right angle turns, then you can quite easily lose the draft. So it's very important to make sure that when you're coming out those turns to put the power down as hard as you possibly can. But just coming back to Kim, she's made a couple of efforts to just try to bridge up to a group in front, which sadly haven't been successful so far, but it looks like her group is now reforming as we go around the hairpin before we head into lap number 2 of 8. Steve?
Yeah, it looks like Josh is in the same group, isn't he? I think. I don't know which rider you're following, James, as part of our standard preparation. But yeah, Josh is up there with Lisa Jones in the 30s at the moment. And this is the part of the course where you get to have a bit of a rest. It's a bit of a try hard for half, rest for the other half course, isn't it? So you're going to have to go all out on the cobbles. You'll probably find you'll either be away from a group and want to attack them, or behind a group and want to attack back to them through that bumpy bit round to the start finish line and that hairpin there, and then a bit of a chance to rest. Interesting, we got the new pack dynamics. Do you think that's going to make any difference with the right angle bends tonight, folks?
Doesn't appear to be. It looks relatively, I'm going to use the word normal. Doesn't appear to be a significant amount of weaving going on, which we certainly saw in the team time trials on Thursday. Riders struggling to stay in a pace line and just dropping outside the draft before pulling back in after about 5-10 seconds. So looking at Kim, she seems to be happily drafting along in 67th place. And one of the things I was going to say is I think in terms of this course, I think this direction is probably easier because you really, I mean, like you say, Steve, you do go quite hard half a lap, and you've got the climb up the cobbles. But I think going the other direction in a bullseye that we did probably about a month or so ago now, the rolling section is definitely a lot harder going the opposite direction. So I think once you get over this climb, the rest of the lap isn't too bad, unless you happen to be on the last lap where it's all bad, as Becca, I'm sure you'll attest to.
Can I just say I don't feel like I got any rest at any point during this race, like absolutely none. I don't think my heart rate dropped below 180 for the entire thing, and so this idea of like having a rest after the cobbled climb seems, for the front group, somewhat perhaps unlikely, unless they are going a little bit easier than we were earlier. So yeah, I'm not sure with Crit City, especially with only 8 laps, that there ever is any rest. So it's basically just flat out from start to finish.
I think that's a fair point, especially when you're averaging 5.4 for the entire race. That would indicate that there was no recovery at all. I'm certainly interested to see how it goes tonight and also in my lunchtime race tomorrow. Kim's still in the mid-60s. She's 3.5 kilometres through, and she's in a group of, I would say, probably about 8 riders. How's Josh doing? Is he still in the same group as Carrie?
Yeah, still in the same group. I believe with Zoe Mackay, previously featured, Lisa Jones also previously featured. So really nice herd group here. It's going to be an interesting course tonight, isn't it? Because I suspect, cone of shame being thrown up there. Sorry. I suspect that some riders are going to get lapped, and I say that with all respect to those riders who are doing their race, but it's quite a good opportunity if you get lapped, isn't it? If you're able to use the group coming past you just to kind of jump ahead of those riders you're racing tonight. So it could be some good opportunities if people can maybe boost the positions, or at least that person who's been following them around for the rest of the race. So I do like Crit City. I did like the Mad Crit League when we were doing categorized racing, and basically you felt like you were never riding on your own. So it is a good course selection tonight. We're just hitting the Cobble Climb. That's the power up to have on this climb. Unless you've got Steamroller, could be quite good, but I don't think we have that tonight, do we? Just come at the Cobble Climb. Everyone's coming together. A little bit of a sprint there from Josh just to make sure he doesn't get dropped. And he's actually chasing after a rider that's gone ahead, but I don't think they're putting in big watts, so I'd save your energy here, Josh. How are your riders doing?
Yeah, she's very, very strong on the flats, but unfortunately she seems to lose. She's lost her group on the climb last time around. So she's been sort of by herself for a bit of a lap, although there is a big group behind her just coming up. So hopefully she'll be able to hook in with them a little bit. So yeah, she's no longer in Josh and Lisa's group, but she's about to be in the third group on the road.
Yeah, Kim's just hitting the Cobble Climb, putting out 3.5 watts a kilo, making sure she stays with the group. There's a few just off the front, and it looks like that's all going to come back together again very shortly as we head over the top. We're 5 kilometres in and just over 10 to go as we just go through the banner. Steve, how about Josh?
Yep, just coming around to finish what I think is our third lap. Yep, we're 6Ks in, so it should be the third lap we're finishing. Everyone kind of nicely together, and it's an interesting one at this point. Kind of, this is where if you're not in the front group, Becky, you can bounce or Yan your way to your heart's content, and it's all about just putting the minimum effort you can up that climb to stay in the group. So yeah, could be an interesting one. And apologies, I think the freeze the stream is freezing a little bit, so blame Greg. At least he can hear us this week. Whilst we're talking about apportioning blame, James, I think we both, Becca and I, have to owe you an apology this week. we did say that last week's course was absolute arse and you were a terrible human, and then we both rode it. In Becca's case, for the second time, and decided the course was great, and actually it was a fine choice as DS. So apologies from us. Well done on choosing a good course. And actually tonight's a really good course as well. But don't worry, I'm sure normal service will be resumed next week when we tell you you're an awful person.
Everyone always tells me I'm an awful person whenever I put on Bologna. Apart from people who love that climb,
I love
of which
I do love Bologna.
I absolutely adore Bologna, and I would do it every week if I possibly could do. But there's a few stinkers in there as well. But I think we're going to get a sneak preview at the end of this race. So hang on for that. We'll have some more information about the upcoming series after we finished here. Kim's still in the mid-60s, but it looks like they've caught up a few extra riders because she was around about 59th place a minute or two ago. So she's doing a nice job. We're 6 kilometres through and onto, I believe, lap number 4. So not that far away from half distance. Becca, how far is Carrie into a race now?
So she's 6.9 kilometres. They've just gone up the Cobble Climb for the, I want to say, 4th time. She's with a good group of her jerseys. She's got Stephen McBride, Camilo Torres, and a few others with her there, Dennis Wade. So at least she's now got a group now, so she's not by herself for the next few laps. So yeah, I think they might all stick together, being mostly hurt and one ATP rider.
Steve?
Yeah, so we're just coming around to finish lap 4. Just sort of doing 4 watts a kilogram at this point, but I don't think you can really trust that as a kind of true pace that people are averaging, because it's that little bumpy bit before we come around the final hairpin, and there's doubtless a bit of positioning here. So yeah, Josh doing a fine job. Maybe if I was being hypercritical, running a little bit too far forward in this group, but I think with the new pack dynamics, you're probably better served being slightly cautious at this time and try and make sure you stay in a pack. The odd scraps of riders, I think these 2 that we're just closing on now are actually riders that were racing for position, which is exciting. So they've just mopped up 2 more riders. Let's think about tactics now. Becca, you raced this earlier. What's your tactic in going for the win or going for the win from your group anyway? Where are you looking to attack? How are you beating people to the finish line in this one?
Cobble Climb 5 out of the 8 laps, in order basically to try and break the front group as much as humanly possible, and basically thought if I was hurting, then everybody else was probably hurting just as much. But it didn't break the climb up. It didn't break the group up as much as I'd hoped, to be honest, because if you just go by yourself, everyone just sort of looks at you like, we're not going to follow you because we've got a whole bunch, and they just sit there and they do whatever they want. So really, I could have done with a couple of teammates to come with me and actually break up the bunch slightly more. But it did seem to work somewhat, because people had tired legs by the end, and I just managed to out-sprint quite a few of them. But yeah, so here really, if you've got the legs for it, attack up the Cobble Climb, but otherwise sit in the group and try and out-sprint at the end.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, sorry, James, you crack on.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think as someone who normally finishes around sort of 20th to 25th, I don't think I've got any real tactic other than just try and hang on as long as I can, push on the Cobble Climb, and see where I am at the end of a race and try and get a sprint in. Steve?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I mean, I'm loving Becca's humble brag of I only managed to attack 5 of the 8 times to make it hard. It is something I wish the new pack dynamics would fix so a little bit, and we'll see how they go. But the ability for someone like Becca, who's strong at the front of the ride, who's attacking repeatedly, just to, if you get a bit of a gap, actually to more realistically stay away from a group if they're unmotivated. I think it's a little bit too easy still with the blob dynamics for the blob individual riders, even when they're not particularly trying. And I think that would make more aware for exactly that tactic Becca's used tonight already, which is to make it hard, look for a little gap, maybe pick up 2 or 3 riders who want to go with you, and then exactly what I'm going to do tomorrow, which is I'll be dropped early on and probably end up in a group with a big attack on the last lap on the cobbles. I don't have a sprint. I'm not going on the last bend. I'm going on the cobbles, and I'm going to try and trial it away from people.
Good call.
That's going to be brutal for you, by the way. 'Cause it's a lifeless
I was going to say, Becca, Steve's normal attack is from about 1 kilometre out, and then he dies with about 400 metres to go, and
I
everyone goes past him.
contemplated going up the last Cobble Climb, and I should attack from 200 metres, so I did not do it. But I do wonder.
You did finish second.
Where on the course did you go, Becca? Did you go before the hairpin or pretty much on it?
I went from 250 metres. I've no idea what was going on in the thing. I just looked at the metres to go. I don't remember any of this course. I'm watching Carrie go round it, and I'm like, don't remember this, don't remember that. I just remember the climb and nothing else.
I have exactly the same problem with this course. I mean, it's short enough that you feel like you should be able to memorise every little bit of it. And all I can remember is this right-hand bend to the cobbles and then the lumpy bit round to the hairpin. I have no knowledge of what happens to the other half of that.
Just to jump in quickly with some race news, Kim Johnson's group has just been lapped by the front group, who were absolutely flying, and it looks to have split things up quite a bit and caught up in that front, but given she's currently in front of her group of what appears to be 2 at the moment, but in 61st place, whereas the front of her group earlier was 59th, so 1 or 2 of them might be able to latch on for a little bit, so we'll see if they catch back up again. But we are just going through 10 kilometres with I think about 5.2 to go, 5 hopefully. How about Josh and Carrie? That front group's got to be getting relatively close to them now.
I don't know where the front group is in relation to our group because this is really confusing. But they're also coming up along lapped riders, and this is where again you've got to be quite careful. And Josh did quite a good job there of just upping the watts slightly to make sure he wasn't caught out by anyone as they lapped through those riders. And if you're a lighter rider, just looking at Josh, I haven't got his weight up here, but if you're a lighter rider, obviously the sticky draft can be a bit more of a problem. Interesting to see as the pack went through there. It did look like they passed through those riders they were lapping slightly easier than I've seen before. So it does look like that sticky draft dynamic does seem to be working a bit better in game. So yeah, key point where this time of the race now, when we're going past those lap riders, make sure you don't get caught out. So even more important to be in the first sort of third of the riders, I think, in a group on this course tonight. But yeah, Josh doing well. We've got a really strong herd contingent here. It's going to be quite an exciting herd off, I think, for the sprint at the end. But we're on to lap 6, coming around a bit of the course that I genuinely don't remember every time. Becca, how's your rider doing?
Yeah, Carrie has just finished lap. I want to say she's just finished lap 6. She might have just finished lap 5. I actually know because these laps are too short and terrible. Anyway, she's still with a couple of herd riders there. She's got Stephen McBride and Dennis Wade with her, and someone from ATP and someone without a team. They've sort of stuck together, the 5 of them, as they're going round. They're also lapping a few people, and they are yet to be lapped by the front group, I think. Sort of just coming up to 12 kilometres in, and yeah, they seem to be sticking together quite well, to be honest. So I don't know whether they might stick all together till the end and then have a bit of a sprint off, or whether any of them will try and attack for a slightly better position, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think at 12 kilometres you are probably into lap 7, so 2 to go. Kim is shortly going to come round the hairpin to finish lap number 6, which will leave 2 to go, and not too much longer left in the race. Quickly back to you, Steve. How are we doing?
I'm really confused because you just said lap 7 and lap 6 means 2 laps to go. So there are 2 or 1 laps to go in my group. Yeah, they're all doing well, all motoring along nicely, still in this group. Looks like it's heading towards a big sprint near the end. Interestingly, James, I was going to ask you about the league starting next week. More, not too many specifics other than one slight tweak you've made to how the results are being judged. So basically, at the moment, we could do as many of the Herd Racing League events over the weekend as we'd like, and our best result would count. But you're changing that for the next series, aren't you?
Yeah, so last summer we had a few guys who would basically keep on racing again and again and again until they did a better result. And fair play to them if they've got the legs to be able to do that. But I wanted the first result to be the one that counted. So for the series coming up next week, which will be 12 weeks long, your first result each weekend will be the one that counts. So by all means, go out really hard in your first week, and if you want to help out your teammates in any of the other races over the weekend, then you are absolutely free to do so. But your first result will be the one that counts.
And that would be quite cool, I think, because I think some of us would quite enjoy doing that. So maybe going for a blast on a Friday where we're looking for our own personal result, and then maybe another ride on a Saturday where we pick up somebody from, I don't know, one of our time trial teams, or just one of our ZRL teams that we know, and go, yeah, I'll ride with you, and I'll make sure that you've got some support in your ride. So yeah, quite a fun dynamic, James, and I'm looking forward to it.
As someone who's just started enjoying actually doing this race more than once a weekend, I'm slightly disappointed now that the first result will count, which means I actually have to properly try in the first one and not just screw around and see whether I can get a good result by doing silly things. So yeah, I think it's going to cause people to actually ride things properly and use team tactics sensibly, and not perhaps in the way we have with HBR, which is sort of brute force it and do as many as possible until you get the result that you want.
I'd say for someone who came second in today's earlier race that this one would seem to go fairly well for you. So hopefully you will manage to continue that form into the new series. Just quickly touching on Kim, she's just gone over the Cobble Climb for the 7th time, and we'll have about a lap and a half to go. I'm guessing, Steve, Josh is pretty much on the last lap now.
Yeah, he's set a new PR up the Cobble Climb com. He's currently, there's 2 riders who've gone slightly quicker. Aldrich and Huskies 1 second ahead. Bunch is coming back together now. I can still see Zoe in the bunch sporting the polka dot jersey for the fastest Queen of the Mountains. See Jonesy Hicks, Untitled. It's a great herd bunch. We're all coming together now over these lumpy climbs. Somebody throwing a truck. No, it's a truck, not an arrow helmet. Truck. Not too bad time. Another truck being thrown somewhere else in the group. Aero helmet very early from an ATP rider as he come up to the bend before the hairpin now. If you're thinking of throwing a hat, it is that zebra crossing is the point where to throw it. As we come round the bend now, Josh dumping his sprint, and he's hitting 11 watts per kilogram. A few 10s are up the group. He's flying through the group now. He's caught a few. Is he going to get one on the line? Oh, maybe just. Looks like he rolled over in 29th. Back to your riders.
Quickly back to Becca, because Carrie's got to be near the end as well.
They've just gone up the Cobble Climb for the last time. Dennis Wade and Stephen McBride from Herd put in a decent effort up the climb, and Carrie did drop off for a little bit, although she does seem to be putting in a strong effort now to catch them back up. So yeah, she's in a group of 6, and they're just going over the little bumps before you get to the corner and end up with the final sprint. So there's 6 of them in there. She's currently in 42nd. So yeah, she hasn't got much further to go. I'd say maybe 400-ish meters. They're just coming up to the U-turn before you turn onto the final sprint, and we'll see if any of them have got the legs left to have a proper go, or whether they will just roll over. So Carrie's doing 6.1, 7.9. She's definitely having a good go. She's standing up a couple of the guys are coming past, and she's rolled over in, I think, 39th place. So fantastic results.
Brilliant job from Josh and Carrie. Kim has, I think, about 800 meters to go. Got 1 turn left before the final Cobble Climb, which we're just going up now, and she's putting out 3.5 watts a kilo. Currently sat in 60th place. Got 1 rider in front of her in 59th, so it's looking like it's going to be a battle for 59th. We've got an American rider about 5 seconds up, 2 seconds up the road, so maybe they're able to latch onto them as well. Difficult to tell if they're on the same lap, but we are over the final Cobble Climbs, and we will only have a few more turns to go. So we'll turn right before we head to the rolling section, and I think we're down to probably like the last 500 meters. So just follow this through, and we're just coming up to the rollers in about 100 meters time. At which point we will turn left, and then we'll have the hairpin back towards the finish line. So just onto the rollers now. Kim sat in 60th place, 15 kilometers through, and just lapping another rider. That was the sorry, I was going to say it was the guy out of Texas, but no, they're still just in front. Kim's putting a big effort down now, looking to try and drop a couple of riders behind her, and we're just down onto the back straight before the hairpin, and she's still putting down around about 3 watts a kilo, just come around to the last corner. Has she got any sprint left in her at all? We can see the line, 3 watts a kilo, 3.5, 4, aero being thrown down, and we are going to cross the line in 60th place. Well done, Kim. Great job. So, all that I really have left to say is a big thank you to Becca and Steve for joining me. A big thanks for the pictures from Craig, and a big thanks to Kim, Carrie, and Josh for being our featured riders tonight. And I believe that Craig will shortly be playing us some information about what we've got to come next week, and some details about the Herd Summer Racing League that will start on Friday next week. So enjoy. Thanks a lot for your company. Bye-bye. Hello race fans, here's what the Herd Racing League has to offer this week. On Monday, we have the final event of our individual time trial event, the Stampede. All riders in the same category start at the same time in our no draft event. This week, it is 3 laps of the 6 train route in New York. This sees us take on 19.7 kilometres of undulating terrain with an elevation gain of 207 metres. Races are 8 AM, 6:05 PM, 9:50 PM on Monday and midnight on Tuesday morning. All times are UTC. On Wednesday, we have the series finale of our points race, the Bullseye, where you score points each lap depending on your position in your category when you cross the banner. This week, we have 6 laps of Champs-Élysées, which covers 42.8 kilometres, and we climb a total of 260 metres. Races are at 8 AM, 6 PM, 9:50 PM on Wednesday and midnight on Thursday morning. If team time trialling, as ever on a Thursday, we have large numbers of teams entering, setting off 10 minutes before C, then another 10 minutes before B, and then A 10 minutes later. Who will reach the top first? Events are at 2 PM, 5:15 PM and 10 PM. Again, all times are in UTC. If you're looking to race this week, ride hard and ride on.